Hey, welcome back, and I'm hoping that this is a much better angle than last month's wrap-up, but you know, I've already spent a lot of time trying to get it at a good angle. This is the best we're gonna get, at least it's not just my chin. But anyway, hi, I'm Milo, welcome to my October reading wrap-up. I'm recording this on the 1st of November, but I'm pretty sure it'll go up like on the 4th, the latest the 5th, so if you're in the UK, happy bonfire night, or early bonfire night. If you're in the US, vote. For the sake of your future, vote. And I think you know who the right one is. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about books. So I read 10 books in October, and 5 of them you can see in the 2 reading vlogs I did. So I won't go into a lot of detail for those ones, but anyway, moving on. The first book I read in October was The Secret History by Donna Tartt, and you can see that in my reading vlog. It is a spoiler reading vlog, so if you haven't read it and you want to read it with no spoilers, don't watch it obviously, but if you have read it or you don't care about spoilers, feel free. I know the lighting is bad in it, deal with it. Anyway, this book is like the founding of Dark Academia, the first Dark Academia book I've ever read, because apparently October was the month where I step outside of my comfort zone reading-wise, and I guess that's the scariest thing of all. But anyway, what did I think of The Secret History? I hated it. In all honesty, I rated it 2 stars. I don't understand why people like this book so much. I find the pacing was far too slow. The chapters were way too long, and I know long chapters generally are fine, but when it is over, like my copy was over 600 pages, and I know a lot of them are over 500 pages, and you only have like 6, 7, 8 chapters, and plus the prologue and epilogue, like it was far too long. All of the characters sucked, and one other thing, it happens in like the last chapter, revealed in the last chapter, that I obviously won't say because it's a spoiler, and this isn't, I want to try and not spoil anyone. Yeah, I didn't like this book. If you do, good for you. I didn't. And the reason I don't have it is I unhauled it pretty quickly. And it put me almost into a reading slump. So to counteract the reading slump, I reread The Amazing Book Is Not on Fire and Go. If you're new here, I reread these every single month. This should not be that much of a surprise. And I did, and they're still 5 stars, I still love them. And this month I did listen to Tabanoff as an audiobook. And again, if you're new here, when I listen to an audiobook, and since the audiobooks are like 4 hours, I spent it. I will do a colouring thing where I will get a superhero from this colouring book, which I got in Brighton ages ago, and I will colour it a superhero as a pride flag, and this one is specifically the aromantic flag. I really like this one. Yeah, I find it pretty. But anyway, after I read Go, I read Back in the Spell by Lana Harper, which is the 3rd book in the Witches of Thistlegrove connected universe, since I think they're technically connected standalones, but yeah, you don't have to read the first 2. You want to read the first 2. This has spoilers for the first 2 in it, obviously, but because each book follows a different person and couple in Thistlegrove, which is basically a community of witches in modern settings, and I love modern settings but with magic. Did I do the thing again like I did last month where I read a Christmas book? Technically, but I think it's just set at winter. They don't technically celebrate anything until the very, very end, and that's only in like, was it the epilogue or the final chapter? In the final chapter until the final chapter they don't celebrate anything. So this is a romance. I rated this 3.5 stars. It was cute. It was alright. I liked it more than I did the last one, or the second book, but I think the first book is still my favourite. And the love interest in this book is a character who is non-binary, who uses he, him, and they, them pronouns. and which is fine, but I also use those pronouns. The female lead character, called, pretty sure it's Neve, but everyone calls her Nina, like, defaulted to calling them he, him, because they were masculine presenting. And honestly, when it comes to books and characters like that, use two sets of pronouns, you want to use, it always annoys me when characters default to one set of pronouns, because you have two sets of pronouns, use both of them, that's what makes me comfortable. And obviously, she asks them when they meet up for their first date, like, because they have like a dating app situation, like what their preferred thing is, and he tells them that he's alright with it, with he, him, they, he, him, but like, you shouldn't default. And it just made me think that use both. I don't know if I'm not making sense, but I guess it really annoys me that when characters only use one set, which is what really annoyed me about Loveless by Alice Osman, is that they have a non-binary character who uses he, him, they, them. They only use he, him for them, and it's just, it annoys me. I know, maybe I'm complaining just for the sake of complaining, but when you want representation for people like you want them to represent prop. The whole point of having two sets of pronouns is to use both pronouns, and only defaulting to one feels invalidating, at least to me. Anyway, the next book I read was for my other reading blog I did last month, which was My Name Picks the Books I Read, which is when I put all of the books that starts with the letters of my name into a random wheel generator and spin. So the first book was the M book, and I read Moondust, In Search of the Men Who Fell from Earth by Andrew Smith, specifically the 40th year of the moon landing. I mean, this was very outside of my comfort zone. It is non-fiction, obviously, about all of the men who went to the moon. And I thought it would be like an interview format, but it's very, I guess, story-driven, which, I don't know. I rated this 3 stars, which, it was interesting, but at times it was kind of boring, and that he would include personal anecdotes, which honestly dragged the story. It didn't make a lot of sense, and weren't that interesting. And I learned a lot about the space program and Apollo, which was great, but personally not my thing, which is why I have chosen to unhaul it, and it will be going to someone else, hopefully. If you want it, it is listed on my Vinted currently, I presume. Again, this might go up. If it's not, then I'll say so in the editing, but I'm pretty sure. But anyway, the next book I read, which was also for the vlog, which was the iBook, was Inside the Mind of John Wayne Gacy, which was a serial killer, R-word, I don't think I can say that, who targeted young boys and was the inspiration for Pennywise. I rated this 3 stars, and it was mainly just a characterizing of his life, how he got caught, and what led up to him getting killed. Well, not killed, put to death through lethal injection. The next book that I read for the reading blog, which was the R book, which was Lord of the Flies by William Golding, which is a classic, obviously, and this one was also a library book, but was also originally published in 1958, so it's just an old edition. Not important to the book, but I think it was interesting. Basically, this story is about a group of British boys who crash land on a desert island and basically go insane. I rated this 3 stars. Pretty much every classic I've read so far I've rated 3 stars, so I don't know if I just don't like classics, but who knows. The next book I read, and it was the last one for the reading vlog, was the O book, which was 127 Hours Between a Rock and a Hard Place by Aaron Ralston, which is a memoir about his time getting trapped in the Utah Canyon. He gets his right arm trapped between a boulder and a wall, and he's stuck there for 6 days. And I rated this 3 stars. I mean, it was interesting. Anyway, I rated this 3 stars, like I said, and it was interesting to hear about his struggle. And what they do was they interlaced the chapters with like how he got into climbing and stuff, and then after he ran out of like stuff he got into climbing for, he obviously moved on to what his friends did, and honestly I was kind of bored halfway through, so this will obviously also be another unhaul. But anyway, the penultimate book that I read in October, which I will be completely honest, I did the names pick the books I read reading vlog to put off reading this book because I was worried about reading it, which was If We Were Villains by L.M.L. Rio. After reading The Secret History, I was slightly scared of reading this book because it gets compared to it constantly, but obviously it gets compared to it's a Dark Academia book. I'm pretty sure the majority of the books get compared to Dark Academia books, but this one specifically is said to be a lot like The Secret History, and I really did not like The Secret History, so I was scared of this book, and yet I rated it 4 stars, which is surprising. I was so shocked at how much I liked this book. It was formatted like a Shakespeare play, and I don't even like Shakespeare that much, and yet I generally really loved this, and which I was shocked of, but here we are. There was a slight thing which did knock off a star for me. Well, I don't think it would have been higher than like a 4.25 anyway. Yet somehow it is the highlight of the month, not catching Tabanoff and Dapko, obviously, but they're rereads, so I don't think they technically count. If We Were Villains, there was one thing which I do want to talk about, which is a spoiler. It is a spoiler, and I'll put a timestamp on screen to when you can skip to if you don't want to hear this. But basically, the main character's sister has like an eating disorder, and his reaction to her having an eating disorder was really shit, basically. And it really annoyed me because obviously he had to lose his funding to go to this private school because of his sister needs to go to like a special program to help her with their eating disorder, so his parents need to divert the money. And like, I understand it's a very important school and you want to get your diploma and your acting is everything to you, but the way he reacted to his sister being ill was generally just horrible, and I hated it. Like, if I found out my sister had an eating disorder and it needed funding for it, I'd probably just drop out. But besides that, I did really love this book. I don't know why. It generally felt like, even though someone ended up dying, it felt like they were really good friends, and like when the friend group started falling apart, it generally felt sad, and like I knew these characters and like I was falling apart with them, which was weird. That being said, I don't have the book with me. I did end up unhauling this, though. I did end up unhauling it, which might seem weird considering that I'm basically singing its phrases besides that one thing. And the main thing is, I don't think I'd ever be able to reread this and still have the same experience that I did with this. And unless it's like 10 or 20 years down the line. And I don't think I could wait that long. Like, for me personally, I will only keep books if I will reread them. Obviously, considering how much I reread Dapko and Tabanoff. Obviously, if you don't do that, that's fine with you, but I couldn't really justify keeping it knowing that I probably wouldn't reread it again until like, I don't know, 20 years time. And I hopefully won't be living here in 20 years time. But anyway, the last book I read for October was Fake Date and Mooncates by Shirley, which I'm probably pronouncing wrong, which is a cute contemporary romance surrounding about Dylan and Theo. Dylan is this one and this is Theo. About how they meet, fake a date at a wedding, and save Dylan's aunt's takeout. Theo is the son of a millionaire. And this was cute, but I did rate it 3.5 stars. It felt too fast. Like, from the way they phrase it on the back, they say, when they said on the back that Theo was a wealthy customer, I thought maybe he was like a reoccurring customer, had been like going there for like a few months or something, and then they had formed a friendship or something. But it was really fast paced, like, and then it was instant attraction on seemingly both of the ends, and it'll like pop in a thing. Yeah, I wish it was more slow paced and like it was longer. I mean, and it's cute. I learned a lot about Chinese culture and like food. I was very hungry when I made this book, and I wanted to eat everything about it in that that his aunt makes in this, which is saying something since a lot of it has rice in it, and I don't like rice. I guess this was slightly disappointing, but I don't know if I was just overbearing by like how overwhelmed I was with the secret history, not the secret history, if we were villains. But this was cute. I did enjoy it, but I will be unhauling it. And I wish there was more of the dog to say that it is on the cover. But yeah, this is everything that I read in October. Certainly a month of stepping outside of my comfort zone, reading-wise. And next month will hopefully be more romance and more fantasy. I'm currently reading a fantasy book. And if you have sat through all of my ramblings, thank you for staying this far. Please considering liking and subscribing and commenting, and if you're in the UK, checking out my Vinted. Do the rest of the YouTube stuff, I guess. But anyway, thank you for watching. Bye!